All right, you better hit record there, Jonah.
Oh yeah, no, I just hit
Oh,
it 5 seconds ago,
okay.
actually.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Trenton,
Yeah. All right, boss. What you got to say?
What's got?
Trenton,
Yeah.
Trenton.
I'm
This
not.
weekend,
I'm not sorry.
I sat down and I played my time in Portia.
Oh, okay.
Sir, I believe that I have been sold a bill of goods. All right, let me tell you why.
Okay. Yeah. I want to hear it.
All right. So on their store page,
Mm-hmm.
they have what I would say is both misleading
Uh-huh.
and possibly malicious advertisement
Oh, in what
for this
way?
game.
In what way?
The video starts playing, and you can
Mm-hmm.
just hear old Pappy in the background. Here at Portia, things move a little more slowly than they do in the big city. Why, we get up at the crack of dawn, we go out and do a bit of farming. You want to go down to the old fishing hole? Well, that's just dandy. Smell that fresh baked bread. And hey, is there romance in the air? So you go into this game having a certain expectation.
Okay.
Then you go down to City Hall, and you notice that there are 3 slots on a wall of
Yep.
first, second, and third place.
Yep.
It starts to dawn on you that you are not the only game in town.
Nope. Ah. Yes.
And then you walk up to the job board. And as you are perusing the various jobs available to you, you hear footsteps behind you. And then Higgins!
Yes, Higgins.
And then you realize that if you actually want to get on that first place wall, it's going to be you versus Higgins at 7 a.m. every fucking morning. And you better be ready to go. And boy, I hope you've got a good route down for all your gathering and crafting. Because if you don't have all of your goddamn crafting stations going at the same time, you feel so inadequate. Now, you know what? I admire a man who works hard, but he just gets up in your face about it.
Oh yeah.
And I know that I will never defeat Higgins unless I devote myself entirely to these work orders. And I came to realize this is not a farming sim. This is not a relaxation thing. This is not a life sim. No. What this is about is communism. It's the individual giving up everything to the community as they look at you completely unimpressed and say, "Oh, you could have given me a better gift, you son of a bitch." I look up at my relationship status. It's like, oh, apparently I'm the sworn enemy of a random cat. I thought I had a rapport with a pig. No. Nemesis status. Okay. How are we going to dig ourselves out of this, boys? Oh, all right. Well, the girl said that this dude uses beeswax in his hair. Maybe if I'll give him beeswax, he'll like me. I just hear the disappointment in his voice. This is the best you can do. It does a lot of things good, though. I feel like if you let this game get to you, it can be far more stressful than the designers intended it to be. There's a saying that says, players optimize the fun out of everything. And I just cannot help, like, whenever any of my crafting stations stops for any amount of time because I'm waiting on some other part of the process to craft a higher tier item, I feel like I've been running, making good time, and just stepped on a nail. Right? But like I started that, oh god, no, I've got to have multiple crafting stations of the same copy of the same type of crafting station, but I can't do that until I get a bigger farm. So I better save up, expand it, so I can make this. This is now Factorio, I guess, satisfactory. Okay. But it's cool, all of the things that they let you do. I really like how you can have your furniture, put it wherever you want to in your house and everything. I like the fact that you can get materials from multiple places.
Mhm.
So if you don't like digging through the ruins so much, you can still get them. If you can still get certain crafting materials if you just go down to the quarry for a bit or gather some stuff.
For sure.
There are a few items that are for sale that I'm like, oh god, how is this ever going to happen? But I have faith that I'll get there eventually. It's going to be interesting to see how the social stuff plays out. Now I'm still in my first month. We just had our second big holiday with the Zeppelin that flies over town, raining gifts onto the population. I was like, what the fuck is happening here? Oh, I guess I'll just follow the crowd. They must know where they're going. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, Jesus! We're being raided! Portia, I knew you were on the border town. Shit.
What's funny about the events, a lot of them, you're like actively fighting against the other villagers.
Hey, don't shove. Hey, don't shove. Hey, don't shove. Okay.
To get
Nope.
ahead.
Get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah.
This present's mine now. Ooh, leather.
Yeah. Wait until the Easter event drops. Gotta
Oh,
get
God.
on those eggs.
So there's a lot of good stuff going on because there are all these like little knickknacks that you can make and you can put them on shelves and stuff. I love that stuff in Terraria where you could get like a dummy and then put the costumes and stuff on the dummy and customize your house in different ways. But there are some weird disconnects because what are these types of games really about? They're pretty much about self-insertion, right? I am the farmer. I'm the farmer guy. And so they give your character a voice.
They didn't used to.
And they also like I actually had to turn off the voice. And even having him speak with his text is kind of weird to me. Because it breaks the immersion, and like all the villagers and stuff, I had to turn off their voices because they don't exactly lip sync to the mouth flaps, and they don't kind of sound like I think that they should in my head.
Right.
I actually found the game much more enjoyable. They luckily had this little checkbox you can tick off that just replaces all the words with kind of a typewriter-y sound. And that is my default. That's the kind of thing that I like for role-playing games. And it was interesting to me how I observed like, oh, my opinion just like shut up half a point on this game. So I also hope that right now I'm basically getting the stink eye from everybody in town, but I'm hoping that it's kind of going to be like Stardew, where they have different little random events, and so you'll kind of get to know them, especially as you give them presents and stuff. It seems like it's kind of a grind to get their happiness up. And you can only get like one job per day from the board, and
Right.
you
No, you can get multiple jobs.
is that after you level up your workshop or something?
As far as I know, I could like grab you can grab one, complete it, grab another.
They will not let me do that. I have
Really?
tried. Yeah, they said you've already done something for the day, so you can't do it again. and also like the gifts don't exactly match up with my expectations of the person. So, for instance, one of the girls is like, "Oh yeah, if you find anything in the ruins, give it to me because I'm fascinated by this stuff. Oh, I want to learn all about the old world." So she's the scientist type. So I found a book while I was in the ruins, and it's like architecture of the old world, mathematics and stuff. So I give it to her, and she's like, "Oh well, this is almost useful, I guess."
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. You can. I was thinking of the like. There's story commissions, like
Mhm.
completing the bridge, completing the transport system.
Mhm.
You can like accept multiple there,
Oh, okay.
and that's where a lot of your money is going to come from too.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think I may have jumped the gun to the ruins because as soon as I put down the money for the weekly license that you have to pay to go digging,
Hmm.
I was like, well, I guess I know what I'm doing this week. Um, so I haven't built the bridge yet, but now I understand how things function. I
Hmm.
think so. I'm putting the finishing touches on the last crafting materials that I need for the bridge. And uh, I guess I would have done a lot of things differently if
Oh,
I
oh, oh,
understood it.
oh, for sure. Because like, I played it once when it was like in early access, and it kind of got through there. Then I jumped. Then I played it again when it was re-released, when it was released fully, and I took everything I learned from my first go into
Mhm.
the second playthrough, and I had a much smoother time of it.
It's one of these things where I have to stop myself from trying to optimize things too
Hmm.
much. I have to say, let's don't start over. It's okay. They weren't expecting you to have all this knowledge already. And it's much more fun to organically discover the game
For
as
sure,
well. It's like, oh God, where do I find this crafting material? What the hell? I've searched high and low, and then you realize, oh, it's from this spot, and now I can reliably get it, and I feel clever for having discovered it, and it feels neat because nobody that I don't think that the game is very handholdy, but it does do some things really well to kind of point you in the right direction. It doesn't
Mhm.
tell you exactly where certain materials are, but it kind of gives you an idea of the kind of activity that you have to do. I think that the plans, how they lay out the plans for building large constructs,
Mhm.
is absolutely great.
Mhm.
How they have that plan book that folds open. I was like, this is an amazing piece of user interface
Mhm.
because it tells you not only all of the refined crafting materials that you need, but it tells you the total amount of base crafting materials that you'll have to gather before you even need to sit down to start working your way up these tiers.
For sure.
Um, I feel compelled to dress in certain ways just for statistics' sake, and
Mhm.
I'm about to just bite down and buy myself a nice jacket, even though it's going to cost me 15 HP. It's like, oh man, it's pretty cool looking those shorts, but I'm getting, you know, 3+3 stamina off of these swim trunks over here. I can there are odd pieces of uh I don't know how you would say this, but I feel like I'm the town crazy man because I'm currently running around sunburned and shirtless while gathering poop from somebody's yard and wielding an axe, right? So like, oh God, this makes great fertilizer. I'm gonna jump the gate that this person has put around their farm animals and yep, start scooping up everything. And I see like a little old lady walking by, and I just wave to her while I'm have this bronze axe just out naked, unsheathed out in the open. Kind of odd. Overall, I'm having a good time with it though. 6 hours just kind of melted away
Oh, for
on
sure.
oh Jesus, yeah. So like you'll get the little thing as, hey, you should go to sleep pretty soon. You're getting sleepy, and you realize you're like 50 feet underground. How did this happen? I do not remember digging this tunnel, but here I am.
And the funny thing is, there's absolutely no punish for staying up.
That's another strange thing to me, and it's another piece of the immersion pie that seems to be missing a little bit. I
Yes.
wish that there was a reason for me to get to bed early. I wish that it restored my stamina, because I'm kind of used to that from Stardew. Now, Stardew is the first farming sim that I've really gotten into and played. I never thought that I would be kind of a fan of these types of games until I played Stardew. And playing Portia is kind of making me wonder, what other types of games like this there are out there. But it's important that you should be able to self-insert into certain ways and have like certain expectations fulfilled. So now, since I know that I don't actually need to sleep anymore, I feel it feels less realistic to me.
For sure.
And so it doesn't quite feel like I'm fulfilling the farming fantasy, I guess, as much.
Yeah. As far as the design is concerned, that was they dropped the ball there. That there's absolutely no punish or reason to go to bed on time. Since if anything, this kind of encourages you just to overwork yourself. Like, no punish. I'm just gonna keep doing this until I pass out and wake up in my bed.
Yep. Now, after playing this for several hours, I actually went on Steam through the Life Sim catalog, and I just started wish listing stuff left and right. Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, sure, why not? And I saw that your name was actually on a bunch of stuff that I had wish listed. So this tells me you are a veteran and you have an interest in this. I'd love to pick your brain about a couple of points in this genre.
For sure.
But I'm afraid of boring poor Jonah and and Randall to death, because I realize that I've been talking for like 20 minutes straight. Are you guys still with us?
Hi, yeah.
I'm still here, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, that's it. That's all I had. I'm here.
Okay. All right. Is it? Do you guys mind if I ask Shutn a couple questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Although I would like to play some Hammerwatch at some point, but maybe we can make a plan for tomorrow too.
You know what? Maybe we'll just jump right into Hammerwatch, and I think maybe next week would be even better, because then I'll have spent some more time in Portia.
All right, sounds good.
And there are some things that I'm wondering what Portia does that other games do not, and I'm also kind of wondering what kind of life sim you can have that is not a farming game.
You mean like Conway's Game of Life?
I guess. I'm not sure. It's just like if it's like a neat day in the life. I feel like Typhoon, homeowner, right?
Right.
It's neat having a schedule and feeling that you're accomplishing things on a daily basis, and they're talking to the neighbors is kind of fun. Like, oh yeah, different little pieces of personality. You get to watch them grow. Now, at some point, you start seeing the man behind the curtain, right? Because they'll start repeating certain pieces of dialogue or whatever. So your time in Portia is not infinite, because eventually it no longer fills the roaring emptiness inside of you that the real world that does not sate. But yeah, so like I guess there's I have played The Sims, but not for very long. I couldn't get into it. Maybe it's, even though I renamed everybody after my friends, I was never able to really self-insert into anything, and it never really grabbed me. But Portia and Stardew, maybe it's something about the routine, like feeling that I'm getting direct investment from it, or maybe it's something like I feel creative when I figure out how to optimize certain things or just discover certain things. But Portia and Stardew are really pressing some kind of button that my brain really likes.
I have an interesting question for you.
Getting the pellets from the dispenser.
Yeah. So I think I have a question that might help you ponder on that, and that is that not to be like one of the four horsemen of the gameopolis, but if we are going to pick horsemen, I call Conquest dibs. So maybe the answer to your question about why you find an easier time getting to Stardew and not The Sims is similar to that of why you find an easier time getting into. So why didn't the reason why you didn't like Gone Home as much as you think you should have, or the reason why you didn't quite like a bunch of these story narrative games the way you think you might have, is maybe you need a mechanical grip to get into it, right? So like, what is it about those games, the thing that keeps you from fully committing to the narrative game that compared to something with like a system, more of a systems design strategy choice system?
Sure. Yeah, I think it might. Just thinking on it for 2 seconds, it might be because I feel it's too passive. Like if I sit there and I'm going through a narrative that's almost like a book, I feel like I'm not part of the narrative. Perhaps.
Yeah, and maybe it has something to do with, like, say, for instance, The Sim has systems, right? But it's more of a narrative style game. Like maybe there's a key to the lock to the door that keeps you from getting inside the magic circle fully. That is secretly made out of mechanics, right?
I'm booting up Hammerwatch.
Okay.
Sims will tell you that. The Sims will tell you, like, you're like, I want to go to work, and you'll just tell the Sim to go to work. He'll go to work, and he'll come back later in the day, and then he's got to go to the bathroom. You tell him to go to the bathroom. He goes and you don't actually do anything yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You just tell the Sim to go do things, right? Whereas in like Stardew or Portia, you are actually doing the task yourself, like quote unquote, right? You're farming, you're putting the hoe in the ground or whatever, you're picking up shit off the ground, all that stuff. Just telling the pixel to go do it for you, right?
That's probably a good point.
Yeah, the lack of agency.
No, I mean, maybe not so much the lack of agency as the lack of the character in The Sims being a player surrogate.
Oh, as opposed to where you're the actual character, as opposed to babysitting this one of many little tunes.
Yeah, well, I mean, there could be definitely a thing there where, like, some games treat you as the character that you're playing as the avatar of the player, whereas in some other stories are a fully fledged character that you inhabit, right? Whereas, so, like, I think that's kind of what you're getting at with the dictating where the Sims go and not really being the Sim.
Yeah, you don't cook the thing. You don't go to work. He's an astronaut, right? So he disappears for 8 hours of game time, then comes back and he's done his astronaut task. And I need to get him better to play the guitar, so I tell him to go play a guitar, and I'm looking at other things, and he walks over and he plays the guitar and does a little similar. I know way more about The Sims than I for someone who doesn't play. Ben has like tens of thousands of hours into The Sims, just loves it, and I cannot get into it either. Like I just can't.
Well, I mean, I think we all have our own key inside of the magic circle, right? It's how we get into that thing, which means that some of us are going to like, something like the beginner's guide more than others, or, some of us are going to like things like Stardew more than others, right? I mean, I think we all like Stardew, though. I don't know. It's an interesting concept. We should probably continue another time.
Yeah, so the... just put this in the show notes for later. So this was another thing, like, you and I, Jonah, both enjoyed the beginner's guide, and it was not Trenton's cup of tea at all.
Correct.
Right? So it's like, this is another one of those things where, like, some brains just have this thing that they like to eat. And even though, like, Trenton and I are both gamers, and we both like making things. I know he likes writing, so do I. So I would say we're both kind of creative types. And that was one of the things that really I liked about the beginner's guide. I felt like, oh man, this game is speaking to me, but it just did not speak to Trenton at all. It didn't have the combination that would get into his brain. And it's like I almost see it like we have like certain types of dice in our brains, and they just get rolled out. And even though we might have the same types of dice, they're coming up different numbers, right? And it's only when some incoming piece of information matches the numbers that shook out on the dice that we absorb it, and it becomes kind of part of us.
Yeah, or like you have a hidden character sheet of stats inside yourself that says that like you have a 15% affinity, so you'll get 15% out of whatever this stat is out of the game, right? So you might have like, this thing doesn't quite hit you the way because it doesn't pay off in the same way. Like, you appreciate it, but it's like it doesn't have the impact that some other thing you're secretly looking for does, right? And so like I think that the biggest problem or challenge with games is often that the Magic Circle is like this narrative concept of like, being able to forget suspend your disbelief, to be able to be wrapped inside the story, to forget that it's not a story, or to forget that it is a story, that you can be in the circle of the story, right? You can pretend you're actually experiencing it. But like, I feel like that some games have a small circle and some games have a larger circle. And so you're looking at a game like Fallout 3 and you're like, it's a huge circle. But then when you get inside of it, sometimes you can no longer see the edges and you no longer know whether or not you fall out of the circle because you can't see it. Whereas in like the beginner's guide is definitely one where you have a really tiny circle. Or even more like in a different way, you could say like, the beginner's guide is really just a plate of Marmite. And if you like Marmite, oh boy. And then like, in the Fallout 3 has like, all of these different things on its plate, but all of them have been boiled. I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm gonna launch Hammer.
I like the boiled plate analogy. Like you have a large variety of items, but the items are not incredibly different from each other.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that really comes down
to, it's like
to
a wide net, right?
Yeah. And I've been actually reading some more stuff about Fallout 3, and I think the biggest... I've actually come to the concept that I actually don't like Fallout 3, and it's secretly like the reason why I didn't like Fallout 4. Even though I enjoyed Fallout 3 and I thought that I liked it at the time, I don't think I actually did in retrospect. And it comes down to the authorial intent behind what they did, right? Like, Fallout 3 is largely a game full of things. And the developers are like, hey, maybe this will excite you. Maybe you'll be enticed by all these things we put in here. Whereas in something like the beginner's guide is like, there's authorial intent in there, and it's very specific, and it's just like, it helps make it focused, but then again, you won't necessarily be. It's like Ulysses. It's not for everyone. It's like hardly anyone has written Ulysses. In fact, our four of us have an outlier percentage quotient of people in this group that have read the thing, because Koshi has read the thing. That's right. Once upon a time ago, you read Ulysses.
Oh yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. There you go. So achievement unlocked. I wish I could get into that book.
I keep feeling as if I'm somehow obligated to read that book, but I can't do it. I have seen a few of the passages and the size of the tome, and I'm just like,
yeah.
This is one of those things where my father would say it would build character, but I don't wanna. So
building character is just a shorthand for I don't know why you should do this either. I did it, so maybe you should, or something.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. Not to say the experience is bad. I'm gonna watch this game. All right. It's gonna be game audio in here in a second. Cool. All right, I'm gonna load this thing.
Wait.
I kind of forget how to do this.
You go to multi then load.